Hello and welcome to part 5 of my MOC Hogwarts series. Today we're going to be taking a look at this part of the castle here. The reason I haven't led with the name is that there's a little bit of uncertainty about what this part is called. I've seen it called the Quad Building, I've seen it called the Courtyard Building, I've also seen it called the Stone Tower Building, this part here being the Stone Tower apparently, with this as the Stone Bridge. Whatever you want to call it, it's this part of Hogwarts. It goes between the Grand Staircase Tower on this side and the Viaduct Entrance Building on this side. So let's take a closer look and see what I've made. So we'll start by taking a look at the roof, or the various roofs of the bits of building here. First of all, we've got the building on the left, which is the main building. This is just using regular 1x2x3 slopes, along with some 1x1x3s in there. And then for the tower on the right-hand side just here, I've used the standard cone shapes going from the largest all the way up to the smallest at the top, finishing with the ski pole. And then actually to create the lower half of the roof, I've used brackets which go over the edges of the cylinder pieces inside there. If I angle this down a little bit, you'll be able to see through the gap there that the cylinder actually comes about halfway up this curved slope piece just here, and I've used these pieces to fill in the gaps just here. It's not perfect and there are different ways of doing it, but I'm quite happy overall with the effect that this has had, as without this lower bit of roof, the building itself looked far too tall. I've also managed to include a small window. It's just here, fixed on upside down. You can see it's on the outside. Obviously, there's no way of making a hole through the building there without butchering some Lego pieces. So I'm happy to connect this upside down there by the use of a bracket. There's also the smaller tower off to the side here. I'll just remove it to show how it attaches. So you can see it uses the 2x2 round brick with the Technic pin holes in the sides here, as well as one of the astromech bodies, which is very similar to this piece just here, but with a little bit of an extension on the bottom. And then those two just plug into Technic bricks here with Technic pins. Below that tower, we've got the stone bridge. It's not quite as tall as the stone bridge in the films. Partly that's because I've not built below the level just here yet, although I have tried to raise it up a little bit so that it's higher than the walkway level down here. It's attached at a 45-degree angle with the use of hinges and wedge plates, but I'll show you that when we go on to the interior. The last thing to show on the outside is the walkway. This comes in just here around the base of the Grand Staircase Tower, and then along here and then into the main doors there. This is obviously a lot smaller than the doorway actually is on the real castle, but I think the arches provide the perfect shape and there's still plenty of room for a minifigure to go through there. And moving on to the interior. This was an interior that I've worked pretty hard on. In fact, I've done some modifications quite recently, which I will go through. It's quite a thin building. If I move it to the side, you'll see that it's actually only 5-ish studs wide once you get the wall out of the way. But I managed to pack in quite a bit of detail, which I'm happy with. Start on the ground floor here. First of all, you'll see I've got a bookcase at the end, just making use of the bricks with the studs on the side, the two studs, just with plates and tiles between them, which is quite nice. I've also created some of these, if I can take it out, which I've positioned in various places around the castle. These are just representations of those braziers or torches, not quite sure of the name, which you see around Hogwarts. I tried a few different designs with a little bit more detail, but they ended up being either too large or not sturdy enough, so I'm quite happy with these. Nice and simple to make, and I can pop them wherever I like. And moving down the corridor, you can see the doorway where they get through from the outside, and next to that is a statue. This actually came out in a set that was from The Prisoner of Azkaban back in 2004, I believe. I got that set at the time, and I've had this minifigure ever since. There it represented the one-eyed witch, which was the way that Harry got to Hogsmeade, but now I've just used it to represent a generic statue, given it a grey wizard's hat, as well as a staff and a tile here, perhaps representing a piece of paper or a spell booklet, and that just fits into the alcove there by using the 1x3 jumper plates. And then at the end of the corridor, it's not too well lit, so you might not be able to see it, but I have actually created a portrait. Now, yes, that is just a minifigure, and he is just standing there, but for the purposes of this, I've decided it is a portrait. I've used red tiles around the outside to create a frame, and he is actually standing within, if I turn the entire thing round, this cylinder piece just here, which, before I put it there, was a little bit of wasted space, so I'm quite happy with how I've been able to fill that. He's just made of generic parts. I've given him a wand and also a crystal to hold, and you might just be able to see he's wearing a black wizard's hat. One day, if I decide to light the set up or light the entire MOC, that's somewhere that I want to put a light in just to make sure that we can actually see him. I mentioned before that the stone bridge is held on with hinge plates. You can't actually see them, but you should be able to see the 45-degree angle that it's all held at. There's only one hinge in there, but it's perfectly enough to hold that because it's not very heavy, and there's some stairs inside so you can get up to that level. Moving up to the first floor, what you can see inside here is my representation of Professor McGonagall's classroom. Now, when I originally designed this set, it was just a generic classroom. I just had a blackboard up at the end here, these desks, and then a few odds and ends inside the arch. But having got the Transfiguration Classroom Hogwarts Moment set, which I've reviewed previously, I decided to make some changes. The first one of those changes was adding in the bookshelf stickered panel on the back there, just to represent a bookshelf at the back of the classroom. Second of those, obviously you can see, is the Professor McGonagall minifigure. I'll just take her out of the way for a second. She's holding her Transfiguration book. I've added the other stickered panel that came with the Transfiguration set at the back there, showing the blackboard. And also I have added the small shelf full of trophies across there. So you've got a trophy there, a goblet, a little crystal, and then the brick with the glitter inside it there. So just a few details added to that in order to make it into more of a Transfiguration classroom. Is it accurate to the scene that the set is representing and the scene from the film? No, not at all, but I think it's a nice use of space. I wanted to keep this very shallow so it didn't take up too much space on my table, and I quite like the amount of detail I've been able to add in. The other thing on this floor is McGonagall's office, and this was always going to be a teacher's office, but since I had McGonagall and I had various pieces, I decided that I was going to go ahead and make it hers. It's not finished yet. I'm going to do some detailing around the back, but I've actually used pieces with old stickers from a previous Hogwarts castle there and also there, so there's a little bit of detail on the walls there. The other thing that I did when I rebuilt it with pieces from the Transfiguration classroom set is to include this little fireplace. If I just take this plant out of the way here, you might be able to see I've got the flames there, and then actually you should be able to see some brick detailing on the back there. That's actually a sticker from the Room of Requirements set, which I ended up getting 2 copies of that sticker sheet, bought a second one, and on this occasion I actually stuck it on the back of that panel piece there. So you might be able to see there's no actual room for another panel in there. I just thought it was quite creative. So it's actually a black panel with a brick sticker sheet just behind those flames. You might recognise that's a sticker from the Hogwarts Moment Transfiguration set as well, which I've just used as the mantelpiece over the fire. Very happy with that, love the shape that this has created, and it just creates a nice barrier between the 2 rooms. The fireplace is mentioned in the books as being some way that Harry managed to get back from Hogwarts at one point, or back to Hogwarts I should say, via the Flu network. It's just got a small desk for the moment with a quill and a newspaper on there. I'll be adding more details in future. The last real piece of the interior is this owlery. The only reason I created this is I had the pieces left over from the Whomping Willow set and decided I wanted to put them somewhere. If I ever get round to creating a proper owlery tower, then I'll remove this and replace it with something else. But at the moment it's very simple, with 3 owls including Hedwig. I believe those 2 other owls again came from an earlier Hogwarts castle set and they're very nice. And it just completes the scene with a small frog to the side there. So that's it for this part of Hogwarts. Thank you very much for watching. Next week we'll be taking a look at the Viaduct Entrance Hall, which is a part of the castle I'm particularly proud of. And then after that, I'm pretty sure we'll only have one more video and we will have covered everything I talked about in my overview. But don't worry, I've been working on new parts of the castle to look at. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen I posted a couple of photos of a potions classroom setup that I've been working on, partly based on the Hogwarts Moment set that I reviewed recently. So never fear, more things will come afterwards. If you've liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up down below, and if you want to see more of my content, then please subscribe. I've passed over 170 subscribers now, which is absolutely ridiculous. So please keep letting me know what you think and how I can continue on into the future. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.